appreciate your time.
No problem. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's my pleasure. I definitely am interested in hearing more and having you share more with others. Just a little bit for starters about who you are, the work you do, the issues that you're interested in, and the activism that you do around them.
Sure. Okay. Who am I? I am Liv Romano. I am a 25-year-old queer woman with bipolar 1 disorder living in Annapolis, Maryland, who has an emotional service, 2 emotional support cats, and a service dog. They are my rescues. I rescued them. I am like I said, I live in Maryland. I've been living in Maryland for almost 10 years now after my family and I moved here from New England. And since then, a lot since then. I guess like politically, my political activism, I really got involved in 2018 when I decided to run for state delegate right after graduating college for Maryland. And I decided to run with the Green Party. So I registered as a Green, and I got involved, and then I decided to withdraw from the race because of personal mental health problems. I took some time off, focused on myself, ended up working for like a year and a half, got really just consumed with that whole thing in life. And then the 2020 election was coming around, and I decided I wanted to get more involved again with the Green Party. So I contacted our Green Party in Maryland, and they remembered me. They remembered me running, and they were like, hey, yeah, let's get you in contact with your local. So I was in Baltimore City at the time, and I got in contact with that local, which was great. It's one of the best in the country. And then I soon after moved to, or not so soon after, a few months later, I moved back in with my dad into Annapolis. So now I'm getting involved with the Anne Arundel County local. Since then, also, I have become chair and a co-chair to the Maryland Green Party, and that's been quite a ride. It's been great. It's been very interesting. I've learned a lot. And I have also, I was in school getting my master's in public health in epidemiology, but I actually decided to pause my schooling and focus all my time and energy on my activism and community organizing work, because I'm really alarmed with our current trajectory of humanity and the sustainability and the viability of our planet. I really had some red flags or alarm bells going off after Joe Biden said that the IPCC climate report was not sufficient enough evidence to stop the drilling in the Gulf of Mexico. And then there was an article that came out a little while later that was saying how 22 species were just declared extinct. And then there was another article by the independent Co-UK saying that bats, bumblebees, and butterflies are set to go extinct within the next decade. And then I also learned from Seaspiracies on Netflix that we are projected to have empty oceans by 2048 if we continue at this current rate of industrial fishing that we're at. So yeah, I have like all these alarm bells going, and I was getting really upset and feeling like helpless and just feeling like I need to get more involved. And it was really, it was affecting my mental health. I was flirting with a depressive episode, and I just heard my psychiatrist's words echoing in my head, which is like, you're having an existential crisis and you need behavior modification, which for me was taking the pause on school and focusing full time on my activism and community organizing work, which is revolves around many, many things, but they're all central around the climate crisis that is happening. As a Green, I believe in if you want to put labels on it, the Green Party promotes eco-socialism, which is one of the things that really drew me into the party, is how they have this whole ideology based around the nature and the environment, because I think that that completely, our environment, our planet dictates everything else about us. So to grow this concept of eco-socialism, I was really interested in, and really got me involved in the Green Party, and has kept me. Also, our 10 key values have really kept me involved with this party, and got this as involved as I am now. I'm very passionate about our planet and preserving our planet, and preserving animals and humanity. So that is why I decided to pause school for my behavior modification, focus full time on all of this. And right about at the same time I was making this decision was when I also knew that the People vs. Fossil Fuels protest was going to be happening October 11th through the 15th in Washington, D.C. And it was going to be led by Indigenous water protectors and allies trying to get Joe Biden to declare a climate emergency and take proper actions. So I was really excited about it. I was like, well, this is great. Let's see how it goes. And the first day, Joe Biden sent the Secret Service to illegally arrest these peaceful protesters. First day. That continued throughout the week. I got more enraged each day on top of my already enragement at the system. And I just felt more and more desperate to take a stand, because it had been made absolutely clear at this point that the time for peaceful protesting is over. And it's not that I made that decision. It was Joe Biden made that decision by secking the Secret Service on these peaceful protesters and brutally attacking them.
How did you hear about that happening? Had you already gone to them, or were you hearing through phones?
I follow them. I'm big on Twitter. I don't watch any mainstream media. I get all my news through Twitter. And I follow many independent journalists who are reporting on that. I would follow People vs. Fossil Fuel or Resist. I can't remember. Shut Down DC. Stop Line 3, I think that's an account. I follow all of those different accounts that were promoting that this whole People vs. Fossil Fuels events that was happening this past week in DC. And also, October 15th was the commencement of the general strike, which, right now is kind of what we're calling, what's trending on Twitter as Striketober, with the strikes happening nationwide. And, I'll take it even further and say there's strikes happening across the world right now. It's huge, huge movement. And I will call it a workers' movement, to really, really call it that. And that's what I think we need right now, a global proletariat revolution. And I think we are seeing that play out right now. Mainstream media isn't covering it. So that's why it's very important to support independent journalists, #Free Assange. But you need to take we the people need to take responsibility, fact check, source check, all of our information. Because, all of this stuff is happening out there. We just need to actually take the initiative to find it. Also just to talk about with each other. I think that's how you first get people, interested in something, is just by casual conversation or something. Because again, you can't rely on mainstream media to report this. So we need to take the initiatives ourselves on spreading the word. Joe Biden was having the Secret Service, and I believe also the Capitol Police, arresting all these protesters and peaceful protesters in DC this past week. And also negated to declare a climate emergency, which we already know well underway. We are in a human-made climate catastrophe, and we are facing mass extinction. So to me, the only result now, as I said, yes, we are calling for a global proletariat revolution, and the time for peaceful protesting is over, because we live in a militarized police state where we are being brutalized, especially black and brown people, disproportionately. And at this point, meeting violence with violence is not violence. It's self-defense, because they are the perpetrators of violence. The U.S. regime and the law enforcement agencies that they set out to enforce their laws are the problem, they are the enemy, and they are the perpetrators of violence. We need to call for self-defense at this point, because they are killing us. Let's be clear about this. This is class warfare. This is war right now. This is a class war we are seeing on the ruling class, the elite 1%, versus the working class. Just the 99% of us, y'all. 99%. This is class war. People are being killed. People are dying. People are starving. People are unhoused. This is war. And we need to defend ourselves. And that is the message. I felt like I had finally gotten at a place of self-defense and fear of my own life, of the system, and also recognizing that we are already dying under our current system with polluted air, polluted water, polluted food, and facing mass extinction. We are already facing death and dying as we speak. So to me, the only alternative is to fight back, to fight and defend ourselves against the system, and demand radical systemic change that will ensure that humanity can survive and thrive, and we can create a sustainable planet for future generations to come. But that is not going to happen under our current trajectory, and that has been made sufficiently clear by the Biden administration.
And thank you for that. When you decided to head over to DC and join the protest, the indigenous-led protest, were you worried for their safety from like counter protesters, like white supremacists, like Proud Boy types, the white supremacists in the police force, or both? I mean, what were you expecting to find, and what were you kind of girding yourself, and how were you preparing yourself for what you just described, which is in your mind was already a war that was already taking place and manifesting in that particular moment with violence and these arrests that you were discussing?
I was going, I sent out a tweet. I made it very clear to defend and protect the indigenous water protectors and allies that were getting illegally arrested for peacefully protesting. I made that decision myself, based on the violence I was seeing that was being perpetuated by the police against these peaceful protesters, who we can also say are Proud Boys, because many law enforcement officers are also members of Proud Boys, white supremacy groups, et cetera, white nationalists. Yeah. So I was definitely scared, and I knew going into it, fuck, if I'm getting arrested for peacefully protesting, I'm getting arrested for fucking defending myself. I'm going to make a point. Because they've already made it clear they're going to arrest us. They're going to brutalize us. So when are we going to say enough is enough? We are fighting back. We are defending ourselves. We are saying enough is enough. When are we going to take that stand? And to me, we're at that point. The time is now, or else there's no going back. There's no turning the clock back once we get to this tipping point of the no return on the climate catastrophe, and making sure that we can have a sustainable planet for humanity for generations. Because at our current trajectory, that is not the case. It is well scientifically documented. I don't know how much more evidence we need for that to be enraged that our world leaders, especially the US regime, is denying that science, that evidence, and saying, basically, fuck that. We're going to go as business as usual, and nothing will fundamentally change. And we already know that going about that business as usual path is meant for the mass extinction of humanity. We know that. That is drawn out for us. So I ask all of you, what do we do now? we defend ourselves. We put up a fight, because for me, I'm not going down without a fight, because I'm fighting for not just me, I'm fighting for all y'all, because these are our lives, our future generations' lives on the line. And that is too much. That is too much for me to just say, I'm going to sit this one out. I'm going to say, not this time, business as usual. I encourage y'all to wake up, get angry, and defend yourselves.
And of course, unfortunately, when you went there, you were arrested, and that got some coverage, not just online with other activists and sharing, you know, in a real kind of a positive sense, but there was a little bit of mainstream coverage as well, legacy media coverage. I was curious if you've read or seen any of that coverage of your arrest, because I myself, you know, you don't have to talk about it any more than you want to, or not at all. I'm going to be writing about it as a study language and teach journalism, and I think there's some very, very noteworthy things about the way it was covered, the language that was used, the context that they choose to try to frame it with. I think it's noteworthy. We'll leave it at that for now, and I definitely have some issues with it. But I'm curious if you'd seen or read any of the mainstream coverage of your arrest and claims that the police have made, and if you want to discuss how that makes you feel. Again, you don't have to. I know it's an ongoing legal situation, but if you wanted to discuss that, I wanted to give you the opportunity.
I have not indulged myself with mainstream media's exposure of me yet. I was fair warned by my comrades that it was not painted nicely, that it was painted completely, absolutely like the polar opposite of who I am. I've also already had my fair share of trolls on Twitter. So that was enough for me to say, you know, I don't need to engage in all this. I have all the support of my comrades going on right now. Like, I know who I am. They know who I am. They set the story straight. They were working so hard to work. They set up a hashtag, Free Liv, to set the story straight, to correct mainstream media, to really get our message out there. And I just can't thank them enough. I really can't thank them enough. They're absolutely amazing people, and I love them all. So no, I have not actually read any of the mainstream media coverage of it. But I would love to hear what your take was, because that's what I'm getting. I've heard lots of different things, and it's funny to hear.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, I can say briefly. I don't there was an article, for example, from The Hill, and what I will be writing about is how I feel like the way the story was written is, and I'm taking some liberties here, kind of exaggerating for effect, but my argument will basically be that that story there basically takes out any context of the protests happening at all, and I believe it kind of frames it as there was a crazy woman who went and I say that because I think that's the type of callous tone that I'm getting from the language used there, right? I don't use that term lightly, and I wouldn't want to, but I'm saying that there's some crazed person just for no reason, out of any context, started attacking police officers, and then it immediately couples it with other things like January 6th. So it kind of basically the rhetorical framework that they're using is basically, hey, you guys remember January 6th, where all those awful people, almost took over the government? Well, here's some more of that. That's kind of the framing that I see from it, and it really it absolutely, it doesn't even it didn't even make reference to objectively or critically or any way otherwise. It didn't really make any meaningful reference to the context of the protests happening, to other arrests possibly being made, or any of that type of stuff. It certainly doesn't broaden the scope at all of at least in, like, let's say the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years, to say nothing of our entire history. It doesn't discuss or contextualize law enforcement going after Indigenous protesters and protest movements or anything like that. It definitely doesn't do any of that. It tries to, I thought it painted like the lone wolf type of context, and the only context it provides was, I believe, without any evidence, trying to connect it rhetorically to things like white supremacists and their FBI, their FBI and Capitol Police assistance in doing whatever happened on January 6th. So I definitely think that's irresponsible journalism, and that's kind of what I'll be writing about. I don't think mainstream media has to agree with you or I on the need for revolution to do a better job than what I saw them doing with the coverage of it personally.
Yeah.
So that was my take. But no, it's probably better. It's better that you're not reading all sorts of things much. I can't imagine how that would be useful. But I was kind of curious about it. When you went there to the protests, subsequent to getting out of jail, have you had any contact with any of like the indigenous leaders and gotten their impressions of the fallout from your arrest or anything related to that?
No, I have not, but I would absolutely love to be getting more in contact with Indigenous water protectors and allies, because as I said, now that I'm taking the pause from school and really focusing full time on my activism organizing work, I really, and especially with everything that's now happened, I'm really using my platform to promote the Indigenous water protectors and allies, Stop Line 3, and their fight for fighting the climate crisis / catastrophe and ending police brutality. So that's what my big focus is on right now. I would love, and I'm going to personally try and get in contact with various Indigenous water protectors to see about, I would love to go out to Minnesota and stuff and like be protesting on the front lines. Like I would love to be doing stuff like that because I would definitely consider myself a water protector ally. I mean, water is essential to all life. So without that, how can you not be a water protector? I don't know. So I think I would definitely love to be getting more involved with them in their cause. Also, please keep in mind that they do have the Water Protectors Legal Fund, and there's also some GoFundMe set up for the funds to address bails, legal fees, et cetera, for all these water protectors and allies who are being illegally arrested. This has been going on. Well, I mean, specifically with Line 3, construction started in December 2020. And since then, there's been like over 800 arrests. I'm sure there was over like 1,000 arrests this past week. And there's being people like Jessica Resnick, I believe. She was sent to 8 years in federal prison for civil disobedience by chaining herself up to some of the construction equipment on Line 3. So they're cracking down on protesters. I mean, we're seeing a slew of anti-protester laws being enacted across the nation right now. So they are cracking down on us, and that's why I don't say lightly that the time for peaceful protesting is over. But when they are making laws that make it legal to run down protesters with your car, what else do you think the solution is? What else? So, yes, to your question, I absolutely, I have not heard back from any Indigenous water protectors or anyone from the movement. I would love to get more involved. We'll see how that goes. I don't know how they will be so receptive of getting me based on what they've seen so far. We'll see.
Sure. Fair enough. Two last questions for you now, and again, I appreciate your time a lot. What is, I mean, you kind of alluded to some things you're interested in doing now, including some specific ideas, but with regards to any way you want to characterize it, whether it's where you're going to go eat, a next protest, or your case, what's next for you right now? What can you tell folks that are following online, interested, and supportive of you and your efforts and others' efforts? What's next for you? We're glad to see you free, of course, for as so to speak, right? To a certain degree of freedom right now. What's next for you as you understand it, and what fights do you still have? If anything you want to talk about regards to your case?
Well, in regards to my case, I just spoke with one of my lawyers today. I originally, my next court date, which was a status hearing, was going to be 1/7/22, but I have a traffic court date that day, so it's going to be rescheduled. So I will let y'all know what that upcoming court date is. We will see what happens in the meantime, because from now until then, my lawyer is going to receive discovery, evidence, etc., etc. We might accept, we might receive a plea deal. If we reject that, then we could go to court, and then we could, because of my charge, it could be jury demandable. So we'll see. We're moving in that direction. I'll definitely keep y'all updated. My Twitter is at Liv_Romano. I'm most active there, and I'll be keeping everyone posted. That's also my Venmo, which I thank y'all for donating for my legal fees and everything like that. Thank you so much. If you want to donate and support there, please go ahead. I am network director of the Populist Voice Network, which is relaunching this week. We have 7 new shows coming up. I am doing a show on Friday nights at 7 p.m. called Live Positive, where we talk about current events. And this is actually probably one of my lawyers right now, where we talk about current events and always give it a positive spin about how you can still spread like love, positivity, and kindness. And make a difference. We have, what do we have? On Wednesdays, Wednesdays are our big days. We have our panels on Wednesdays. We have their 5:30 panel conversations with leftists, and our 8 p.m. panel, The New Left. Then people on those panels you'll see will be having their own shows throughout the week. So that's the Populist Voice Network. Please like and subscribe on YouTube. We're moving to Rockfin because YouTube is censoring us, y'all. Gotta watch that. So please like, subscribe on Rockfin as well. I am also working along with the Maryland Green Party, trying to get more involved with mutual aid. I'm trying to plan a mutual aid fundraiser that the Maryland Green Party will be hosting maybe in the next month or so. And we actually, the Maryland Green Party, we have an emergency assembly coming up next month. And all Greens are welcome to that, or all Maryland Greens, all Greens. I'm going to say all Greens. I don't care who you are, or where you're from. We have a lot going on with the Maryland Green Party, with the Populist Voice Network, with court.
I guess I didn't ask either. Did they have multiple charges, or is it just like one charge?
One charge.
Okay. What is it?
I don't know. It's a misdemeanor.
Okay.
I'll say that.
Okay. Cool. It's a wonderful thing that you are so busy. And like you said, that the reinvigoration, relaunching of that network, exciting with all those new shows. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. I wanted to circle back to end with you with my last question. And of course, I'll leave time for you afterwards if there's anything else you wanted to add. But you mentioned taking a break from school to focus on your activism, your organizing. It certainly isn't an easy path for anyone that chooses to make those types of priorities or those decisions. Yet you described it as being something, for your mental health. I wonder if you could talk about it, just in any words you want, why going towards the sad things, the stressful things, the existential crises of our time, why is that good therapy for you? Why do you think it's a good thing to do? Is it a matter of, at least I'm feeling a sense of agency, I'm doing something, as opposed to just festering in my head and stressing about it? Like, why is the hard work of activism good for mental health as opposed to bad? We see a lot of good-hearted people in our lives who are like, I just can't think about that. I don't want to, it'll be too stressful. Why is going straight towards that work, do you feel, good for you?
I'm a natural caregiver. I absolutely love helping people, but I think that's most people. I think that's an innate part of human nature, is that we love to love, care for, and help others. So I think that's why I'm so passionate about mutual aid, which to me was a relatively new term, even though that's something I've always been involved with. The term of mutual aid is relatively new, but there's so many different types of mutual aid. Like for me, what I do is I make mutual aid kits that have like socks, hand sanitizer, granola bars, protein shakes, pads, soap, deodorant, etc., and distribute them to unhoused members of my community. But that's also like, asking neighbors if you need them to run errands or like pick up anything for them, taking them to appointments, doing a community garden, doing co-op babysittings. There's so many different forms of mutual aid. The only way you're doing mutual aid wrong is if you're doing something and expecting something in return. So many different ways to go about mutual aid. And what's so important is we need to be promoting mutual aid more, because when we hear all these things about the strikes going on, well, what makes those strikes successful is the mutual aid network that's already there. So we need to make those synonymous with each other. We need to make it, when we're talking about a strike, that's why when I'm posting general strike, I'm posting mutual aid with it, because we need those things to be together, because they work hand in hand together. I also love that promoting mutual aid is promoting communal ties, promoting getting involved with your community, promoting anti-individualism. I like it, because that's what we're prided on in America, is being self-made, pulling yourself up from your bootstraps and doing it yourself. Well, the reality is we can't get by doing anything by ourselves. We rely on everyone for everything. So let's treat it that way and help each other and love and care for each other in that way. Which is just like, so tying it to like mental health, like support systems, a sense of community is so important to one's mental health and overall well-being. And the promotion of this individualism is definitely one of the things that is debilitating our mental health and our overall well-being as Americans, because that is just so unnatural to our innate instincts as human beings, to be with people, to be surrounded by love and cared for, and taken care of, to provide support, to be in a community. That is what human nature is about. Really getting more involved with, because when we're promoting the strikes, that's great. That is a solidarity movement, and mutual aid is a solidarity movement as well. So we got to get these both going. I'm sorry, now I'm going off about mutual aid and people love that. I totally forgot what your question was.
No, I think you're addressing it quite well.
Please remind me, what was your initial question?
Yeah, and I think you answered it. I was asking why is it that activism and organizing is a good thing for you in your view, psychologically? And I think you certainly answered it. Yeah. Yeah.
Just being around caring people. I love it. I think everyone does love it. Whoever we are, introvert, extrovert, ENF, PG, blah, 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 whatever, all those different personality traits, we all just sense that connection of humanity. And that is, directly good, endorphin boosting for our mental health, for our overall well-being, for our physical health. It's so important to be getting more involved in your community, because that's, to me, when I say activism, that's why I say activism/community organizing, because it's really about the community for me. And when I say community, I mean the whole world. The world is my community, because it's like the butterfly effect. You do one thing somewhere and it has a ripple effect throughout the world. So we do need to be thinking in terms, I do think, globally in our community. And I think I see a lot of more of a shift towards that. That makes me really optimistic that we're getting there.
That's great. Well, again, Liv Romano, thank you so much for your time, your perspective. Everyone can and should follow her at Liv_Romano on Twitter, and you can see all the exciting things she has going on and all the work she and her comrades are doing. Thank you very, very much. It was a pleasure getting to hear from you. We appreciate your work and your activism and certainly your time today.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you.